City of Forest Park virtual council meeting number 1394. Today is April 18th. The time is 7 p.m. Let us start by Council Member Sylvester, starting with the pledge.
All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, Council Member. Let us start with the clerk reading the roll.
Adams. Brown.
Here.
Clark. Holt.
Here.
Moore. Moore.
Here.
Sylvester.
Here.
Did you call Harrison, Sally?
Yeah.
Yes.
I didn't hear it. I'm sorry, I'm here.
Okay, I need a motion to excuse Council Members Adams and Council Member Clark. Is there a motion?
I make a motion that we excuse Councilwoman Adams and Councilwoman Clark.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Let it be known by the sound of voting aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, motion passes. So we're gonna move on to item number 2, the minutes. Has everyone received the minutes? Are there any changes or corrections to be made? All right, hearing none, moving on to item number 3, presentations. And it looks like we have one presentation from Cincinnati Water Works, and it is a Mr. Searles. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. I have Tiffany Hardy with me. She's on the Zoom call as well from Water Works. I'm going to share my screen. We won't go through this whole presentation, but just to highlight a few things. Okay, so what we wanted to talk to you all about today is the plan for Greater Cincinnati Water Works to resume water service shutoffs starting May 2nd. And so our message to our customers and everyone in Forest Park is that we can avoid, or they can avoid, water service shutoffs. We have many assistance programs available for our customers so that they don't have to have water service turned off, and we are willing to help them. And so we just wanted to talk about a few things today. First off is we have our Promise Pay portal. Our Promise Pay portal will allow customers to set up flexible interest-free payment plans. When customers log onto our portal at gcww.promise-pay.com, they can start off for a down payment as low as $10 and then choose a payment plan that meets their needs. Also, there are a federal relief dollars that Hamilton County Jobs and Family Services and the Community Action Agency of Hamilton County and Cincinnati have. They are distributing those relief dollars, and all a customer has to do is go to 513relief.org and go. There's a little house. I'm gonna skip to the last slide. There's a little house on the website. I went too far. And right here is that little house. That's what it looks like. So go to 513relief.org, click on this little house, and that's for housing and utility relief. And so not only can they apply for utility relief, but they can apply for housing relief too. And they have, both these organizations have funds available for homeowners and tenants. So we encourage our customers to take advantage of those relief dollars. Also, so there is some delay in those relief dollars. They aren't available immediately. So we encourage our customers to go to our Promise Pay portal and sign up and then apply for those federal relief dollars. If you are a tenant or a landlord, the landlord does have to provide authorization, and that authorization for a pay plan can be processed at authorization.mygcww.gov. And that's the main message that I wanted to share today. And I appreciate Mayor Brown and that you and the City Council of Forest Park allowing us to present today. I don't know if Ms. Hardy, if you want to.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that we understand that throughout the pandemic, our customers and residents have had competing priorities. And so for the past 2 years, we've not gone down the road of doing shutoffs. And so we just want to make sure that everyone is prepared. We've met with Andy from the city manager's office and Wright, and just to know that they're doing everything they can to help residents. We're working together. We're partners in this, and our goal is not to have people lose their water service. And so, as Mr. Scholl said, as long as they set up a payment plan and they could set one up for as low as $10, we will be willing to work with them. The residents should have already received written notification, and we'll be making additional calls this week and being in touch with everyone that might be impacted there in Forest Park. And so if any of the council members have any questions, we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Do any council members have any questions for our guests? I have a quick question. So this is the remainder of the CARES Act money, and you said it's available through both JFS and Community Action Agency. Can people go to either organization, or they have to go to one for a specific ask or another for another specific ask?
No, so you're right. It's the remainder. There is some CARES Act funding and some American Rescue Plan funding.
And American Rescue Plan. Yeah.
And so they can go to they need to choose one. They cannot apply for both, but because they could receive funding from both, and they're not supposed to. So if they just choose one, both of them have funding for both homeowners and tenants. So just we encourage them to choose one and work with them. And then also the United Way of Hamilton County can offer some assistance on applying with both of those organizations.
And we did have a conversation with the county this week that JFS, they have recently gotten caught up on their applications. They had been, with the need that they were experiencing, they had gotten behind, a couple hundred applications behind. But I was told this week that they're caught up and that they're able to start processing those again.
Okay. And just a quick follow-up, what is the typical dollar amount people can receive to expect? Like, is there a minimum or a maximum amount that people have to apply for as far as assistance?
No, so it doesn't matter if, how far past due they are on their account. If they have there's no minimum to apply. And then once they apply for those funds, we see that majority of account balances are paid in full. Of course, those organizations can only go go in and pay in arrears for the past 18 months. That's the max. But we see that it helps out the customers significantly.
And it'll go back to March of 2020. And if they are approved, it will go forward 3 months. So they could get assistance. Like Tony said, a total of 18 months going back to March 2020 and forward 3 months. And some of them are based on income. Some of them are based on household size. And so we really are just encouraging, even if people don't think that they could qualify for it, we're just encouraging them to at least just to apply, because you never know what they might be qualified for. And so we're just encouraging people, just to let their family members, their neighbors know, and it may not be something that they may qualify for or need assistance with, but anybody that they may be aware of.
Thank you. Does anybody have any other questions?
Yeah, just a small question. Is there a percentage of Forest Park residents that you may have identified in the system that says this percentage should be looking into this?
So there are, right now, our focus is on those eligible for shut off. And there are about 89 residents in Forest Park that are eligible for shut off. And that number includes some commercial properties too, some businesses. But we're working with city management on identifying those customers, and we've already provided them data. And I think that we'll be able to speak more to this, but so the city management has those numbers and those residents' names and addresses.
And we're also seeing if there might be some possibility of having our team come out to the senior center there right off of Winton Road, and seeing if there's a way that we could just provide information for the seniors or for any residents. Again, they would have to apply online to set up a payment plan, but we're working with Andy in the city manager's office to see if that would be a way to, just to kind of be another source. Again, we don't want to have anybody with their service cut off. And so we're just hoping to do, what we can and spread the word.
Any other questions from City Council? All right, hearing none. Well, thank you, first of all, for this information. This is, incredibly important. And we will continue to encourage our residents to look into these programs and get the assistance that they need. So we thank you for coming out on our Zoom call. I know people are probably tired of these, but this is incredibly important and our residents do need this information.
Well, thank you for their time, Councilmember Brown.
Thank you. All right. And I guess that concludes our presentations. Moving on to item number 4, which is communications from the public. So at this time, this is the time for citizens to comment on matters before council or ask questions of concern to them. So when recognized, Dana, is there a chat or a feature that we included to allow people to submit questions to council or comments or anything like that?
Mr. Mayor, we have a email address that we published.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Ask folks to send us emails. We did not receive any emails that pertain to this meeting.
Okay, all right. So we can just move on. Moving on to item number 5, which is going to be reports from standing committees. We're going to start with Councilmember Harrison.
Good evening, City Council, Mr. Mayor. I have nothing to report except we did have or interviewed our final candidate last week for our board. I did submit the notes to Sally, and we should be reaching out to the individual soon, putting them on a board. Then also too, I'd like to report that on the 28th of April is Holocaust Remembrance Day. So we just like to be mindful and recognize that act, and just pray that nothing like that happens again. Other than that, I have nothing else to report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Harrison. Moving on to First Vice Mayor Holt.
I don't have a report, and I don't have anything to add to next meeting.
Okay, and moving on to Second Vice Mayor, Dr. Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just would like to report that the Quality of Life Committee met on April 13th.
Okay.
And from that meeting, the Quality of Life Committee will consist of 7 members. The Quality of Life members will be a community-led committee. And so we will be meeting Councilwoman Adams and myself to outline the roles and responsibility of the committee. That concludes my report.
All right, thank you, Dr. Moore. And do you have any items to add to the work session agenda? Anything come from the meeting or?
No, I do not.
Okay, thank you. And moving on to Councilmember Sylvester.
Mr. Mayor, just to comment on what took place on April the 9th, we had the breakfast with the Easter Bunny. And this was held at Frisch's. And it was from 10 to 12. We had a great showing with parents and kids. The kids really had a good time. There were the coloring contests. Those that won received their prizes. We did some raffling. And with this being kind of a return event coming out of the pandemic, I think that the residents and the public was ready to receive it, and they received it well. And it was a good outing. City manager was there. He was sitting there. He had a good time too.
Yes, I did.
So with that, that'll conclude my comments on the report.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Sylvester. And do you have any items to add to the work session agenda?
Not at this time.
Okay. So that concludes item number 5, reports from standing committees. Moving on to item number 6, the mayor's report. That is my report. And actually, just want to report out, because Councilmember Adams is not here. She was contacted by the Arbor Day Foundation. Typically, Forest Park does this every year. We have a tree planting ceremony. So this year, that is going to be next Tuesday, not tomorrow, but next week, Tuesday, April 26th at 9 a.m. It'll be at Central Park, right next to our shelter. So there's going to be a tree planting ceremony. And then you can contact Rachel Wilson. So it'll be Rachel W at forestpark.org to RSVP. But it's typically a nice turnout. Hopefully we'll have a good day, like good sunny weather, and we'll plant a tree because we are a tree city. Forest Park is known for its luscious greenery and scenery. So if residents would like to come out to meet the mayor, meet some of our city staff, and then plant a tree to keep us all, keep our air quality good, we welcome you to do that. And that concludes my report. Sally, I do want to add one item to the work session agenda. Given that we are receiving new businesses concerning cultivation of medicinal marijuana, I want to add one item about a discussion item on potential decriminalization ordinance to be in compliance with state law concerning marijuana. And that concludes my report, and that is the only item that I would like to add. So then moving on to item number 7, which would be the city manager's report.
Good evening, everyone, and I concur with previous council members' thoughts that that was a great day at Frisch's with the Easter Bunny, and breakfast was good too. So the good news is that not only was there tons of kids and tons of parents, but Frisch's helped us out. They've always stepped up. So I want to give them a good shout out and a good thank you to everything they've done. They really struggled through the pandemic, and that there wasn't an empty seat in that place. So I hope this gets people back out to Frisch's and back out to all of our restaurants. So it was a great event. It was a lot of fun, and run by our recreation department and some others, and a lot of volunteers, and it was a good event. I did want to follow up a little bit on the conversation we just had. We thought it would be important to have them, to have the Cincinnati Water Works come to this meeting and tell you a little bit about what's going on and help get the word out. This is a great place. We're looking for ways to let people know that this is about to occur. We've met with them earlier last week, and we're actively working with them to get the word out, to provide services to our citizens, and make sure that if people that people know about the opportunity to get this taken care of through these services. So we're going to get to the point where we'll probably even send people door to door, right, and others to knock on these 80 people's doors if we can't get in touch with them, and at least let them know that they need. Obviously, they have to take responsibility. They have to take action on their own. They'll have to make the application. But if you don't know that these programs exist, you really don't know where to go. And we think it's an opportunity for the city to help everyone in the community. So we're working with them, and we hope to put on a regional show as well at our for a presentation at our senior center. So anybody that needs any help, we'll have some information on our website. Basically the same information. We're going to send it out through our email blast and put it on our Facebook. So all that information will be distributed later by the city, and hopefully we'll be able to get in touch with everyone that could be affected. So I will have one piece of information that we'll need to talk about at our next work session as well. We're moving forward with the Cristo Homes project. The next step to that development agreement will be a CRA discussion. So we'll need to put that discussion on the agenda for the next work session. But other than that, I'm glad to take any questions.
Anyone have any questions for the city manager? All right, hearing none. Thanks for that, Don. This is really exciting stuff. So moving on to item number 8 on the agenda, other reports, and we're going to begin with our law director, Mr. John Wyckoff.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple of items. You mentioned the decriminalization of marijuana. For well over a year, we have not been prosecuting those charges, nor has the police department been citing. So we've been pretty much following the need to decriminalize. The other item is another police matter has arisen, and perhaps you could discuss it at the work session you next have to get an idea of where council wants to go with the issue the police department is having with these lawn companies and their parking habits. We have some legislation.
Oops.
I think he kind of froze.
Oh yeah. Forgot about this. Okay, maybe he'll come back on.
That's a good picture of John right there.
Yeah. Somebody capture that picture.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
there.
there he is.
John, you cut out for a second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So what's happening is we have an exception for these lawn companies to stay parked on the street longer than an hour if it's necessary to finish their work. But unfortunately, we're running into situations where they're parking wherever they want. Fire hydrants, close to intersections, and the police request them to move. They refuse to move for whatever reason. So I think our ordinances need some clarification, and I needed to get a feel from council as far as, do you want to allow them to park anywhere they want? Do you want them to abide with our other parking restrictions, whether it's a fire hydrant or handicap parking, whatever it is, parking on grass? And then what do we do as far as some of them are parking out in the street as if they're double parking at the curb and they're blocking traffic? And we had a situation a few years ago where they were blocking traffic and one of our citizens pulled out of his driveway and kaboom, an accident happened because nobody could see around the lawn equipment, the trailer and the truck. So we need to decide, do we want to give them, and I think, that's appropriate to give them the time to do their job. But on the other hand, their parking has to comply with our other parking rules. And so I'm suggesting doing an amendment to our current ordinances to clarify that, if that would be okay with city council.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a good idea, because we are already in the midst of conversation on clarification of our zoning code as it relates to boats and RVs. And I guess the lawn companies, I imagine, do have sort of like trailer hookups to carry those larger lawnmowers. So I think this would be a worthwhile discussion, and we should just add this to the work session.
All right. And then however you decide you want to proceed, then I'll propose an amendment to the ordinances and present them to Sally once we know the direction of council's consensus.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that, John.
Right. Other than that, that would be the end of my report.
All right. So moving on to item number B, which would be a report from Clerk of Council, Ms. Sally Boyd.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd only report that ordinance number 05-2022 and resolution number 09-2022 were posted as required. And that concludes my report.
Okay. Thank you for that. So moving on to item number 9. So it's going to be our unfinished business and general orders. I need a motion to suspend First Vice Mayor Holt.
I would like to make a motion to suspend the rules requiring the reading in full on 2 separate days and read for the second time by title only ordinance number 06-2022.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion?
Only that this ordinance was posted 6 days prior to this meeting.
All right, it's been moved and properly seconded. Let the clerk call the roll on the motion to suspend.
Brown,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Holt,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Sylvester.
Yes.
All right, motion to suspend passes. Will the clerk please read ordinance number 06-2020 by title only?
Ordinance number 06-2022. Enacting revisions to section 09 building permit inspection and plan review fees with minor coordinated revisions to the fire department fees, section 5 of chapter 156 comprehensive fee schedule of the codified ordinances of the city of Forest Park to update building department and fire department fees.
Thank you for that, Sally. Is there a motion, Council, First Vice Mayor Holt?
I move for adoption of ordinance number 066-2022.
Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion?
Don, do you have any more discussion? Because the title in itself says what's going to be done. I don't have any more discussion on it.
No, that's, it's basically a kind of an annual thing. We update our fee schedules based on the state fee schedules and any changes that we need to make. These are just some changes to our building code fees and our building permit fees.
Okay, so with that, I urge adoptions of ordinance number 06-2022.
Thank you for that, Vice Mayor Holt. Let the clerk call the roll on the motion.
Harrison,
Yes.
Holt,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Sylvester,
Yes.
Brown.
Yes. All right, motion passes 5-0. Next item on the agenda is item number 10. It's going to be new business. So I need another motion to suspend. And this time we'll go to Second Vice Mayor, Dr. Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I motion to suspend the rules requiring the reading in full on 2 separate days and read by title only ordinance number 07-22 through 1422.
Second.
Been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion?
Yes, these ordinances were posted 6 days prior to the meeting.
Okay, thank you. Will the clerk please call the motion, on the roll on the motion to suspend?
Holt,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Sylvester,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Harrison.
Yes.
All right, motion to suspend passes 5-0. Will the clerk please read the ordinance number 07-2022 through number 14-2022 by title only?
Ordinance number 07-2022. An ordinance providing for the issuance of not to exceed $250,000 City Hall parking and road improvement bond anticipation notes by the City of Forest Park, Ohio, in anticipation of the issuance of bonds of the city and declaring an emergency.
Okay, is there a motion, Council Member Sylvester?
Yeah, yes, Mr. Mayor, I move that we adopt ordinance number 07-2022.
Is there a
Second,
second? I'm sorry, who seconded?
second,
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Yes, we got, this is one ordinance of a total of 8 that we'll be addressing out of this evening. With the note issuance for the city, and it's totaling an amount of $7.116 million. We have a note that will be maturing on May the 25th, 2022.
Mhm.
For the outstanding note issuance made in May of 2021. So for 2022, there are several new note issuance planned for litigation. Litigation is provided for each of these new issuance, and then the council members should have the details associated with the summarization with the tables 1 and 2. We have 2 taxable notes that will be combined into one 30-day callable note. This is being done because there's a possibility that the 2 properties that could be sold before the notes mature in May of 2023. If the properties are not sold, then the city would only pay additional interest for the ability to call a portion of all of the taxable notes based upon the transfer of ownership of the city to the new property owner or owners. So in 2021, the city issued $2.835 million in notes. Our financial plan included the pay down of the outstanding notes of $864,000 and reissuing $1.306 million in new notes for existing projects. The non-taxable notes will be combined into a single note totaling $5.606 million. And the details are defined in Table 2 of the summarization that was provided to each of the council members. The city has submitted an application to participate in the Ohio Market Access Program, and is awaiting for its approval. The CMAP is a credit enhancement program. They offer through the Ohio Treasurer's Office that is designed to lower borrowing costs on short-term notes issued by Ohio schools, cities, and local governments. The OMAP leveraged the state's high short-term credit rating to help improve market access and lower borrowing rates for local governments. So based on the details that have been defined with these issuance that we'll be addressing, I move that we adopt the ordinance 07-2022.
Thank you for that, Council Member Sylvester. Does anyone have any final discussion on this? Because bear in mind, the next 7 ordinances are all in relation to everything that the council member just stated. So we're gonna try to get through this as thoroughly and as coherently as possible. So will the clerk please call the roll on the motion?
Moore,
yes,
Sylvester,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Holt.
yes,
All right, ordinance passes 5-0. Moving on to ordinance number 08-2022. Will the clerk please read that by title only?
Ordinance number 08-2022. An ordinance providing for the issuance of not to exceed $450,000 street improvement program bond anticipation note by the city of Forest Park, Ohio, in anticipation of the issuance of bonds of the city and declaring an emergency.
All right, is there a motion, Councilmember Sylvester?
I motion that we adopt ordinance number 08-2022.
Second. So it's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion?
Just that this ordinance follows with the comments that was previously stated involved with the capital improvements. So I motion that we adopt the ordinance 08-2022.
Thank you, Councilmember. Would the clerk please call the roll on the motion?
Sylvester,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Holt,
yes,
Moore.
Yes.
All right, motion passes 5-0. Moving on, ordinance number 09-2022. Will the clerk please read that by the title?
Ordinance number 09-2022. An ordinance providing for the issuance of not to exceed $665,000 land acquisition bond anticipation note, 2022 renewal by the city of Forest Park, Ohio, in anticipation of the issuance of bonds of the city and declaring an emergency.
All right, is there a motion, Councilmember Sylvester?
I motion that we adopt ordinance number 09-2022.
second,
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Excuse me, that this ordinance is associated with the details that was previously stated and involved with the capital improvement. So I move that we adopt the ordinance 09-2022.
All right, thank you. Will the clerk please call the roll on the motion?
Brown,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Holt,
yes,
Moore,
Yes.
Sylvester.
Yes.
All right, motion passes 5-0. Will the clerk read the next ordinance by title only?
Ordinance number 10-2022. An ordinance providing for the issuance of not to exceed $845,000 building acquisition Northland bond anticipation note by the city of Forest Park, Ohio, in anticipation of the issuance of bonds of the city and declaring an emergency.
All right, is there a motion, Councilmember Sylvester?
Yes, I move to adopt ordinance number 10-2022.
second,
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
That this is this ordinance is house cleaning involved with the capital improvement, and that move to adopt the ordinance number 10-2022.
All right, thank you. Will the clerk please call the roll on the ordinance? On the motion?
Harrison,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Holt,
yes,
Moore,
Yes.
Sylvester,
Yes.
Brown.
Yes. Motion passes 5-0. At this point, we'll take a brief intermission as we, no, I'm joking. Moving on, will the clerk please read the next ordinance by title only?
Ordinance number 11-2022. An ordinance providing for the issuance of not to exceed $1,306,000 various purpose bond anticipation notes by the city of Forest Park, Ohio, in anticipation of the issuance of bonds of the city and declaring an emergency.
Is there a motion, Councilmember Sylvester?
Yes, I move to adopt ordinance number 11-2022.
second,
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
That the details, comments were stated, and this is also associated with the capital improvements. So I move that we adopt the ordinance 11-2022.
And will the clerk please call the roll?
Holt,
yes,
Moore,
Yes.
Sylvester,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Harrison.
Yes.
All right, ordinance passes 5-0. Will the clerk please read the next ordinance by title only?
Ordinance number 12-2022. An ordinance providing for the issuance of not to exceed $1,510,000 real estate acquisition bond anticipation notes by the city of Forest Park, Ohio, in anticipation of the issuance of bonds of the city and declaring an emergency.
Is there a motion?
I I move to adopt ordinance number 12-2022.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
That this too is also a ordinance involved with the capital improvement. So I move that we adopt the ordinance 12-2022.
Thank you. Will the clerk please call the roll on the motion?
Moore,
Yes.
Sylvester,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Holt.
Yes.
All right, motion passes 5-0. Next item, will the clerk please read that ordinance by title only?
Ordinance number 13-2022. An ordinance providing for the issuance of not to exceed $3,600,000 Winton and Kemper Road Improvement Bond Anticipation Note by the City of Forest Park, Ohio, in anticipation of the issuance of bonds of the city and declaring an emergency.
All right, is there a motion?
I move to adopt ordinance number 13-2022.
Second.
It's been moved to, sorry, it's moved to properly seconded. Is there any discussion?
That this too ordinance is a part of the capital improvement that was stated earlier. And with that, I move that we adopt ordinance number 13-2022.
Thank you. Will the clerk please call the roll on the motion?
Sylvester,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Holt,
Yes.
Moore.
Yes.
Okay, ordinance passes 5-0. And last but certainly not least, will the clerk please read the next ordinance by title only?
Ordinance number 14-2022. An ordinance providing for the issuance of not to exceed $5,606,000 various purpose bond anticipation notes by the City of Forest Park, Ohio, in anticipation of the issuance of bonds of the city and declaring an emergency.
Is there a motion, Councilmember?
I move that we adopt ordinance number 14-2022.
Second.
Been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion?
That this too is also one of the house cleaning items that's associated with the capital improvements. So with that, I motion that we adopt ordinance number 14-2022.
All right, well, you heard him, Sally. Will you please call the roll?
Brown,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Holt,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Sylvester.
Yes.
Okay, and that ordinance passes 5-0. I appreciate everyone and their patience. Procedure is incredibly important here at the City of Forest Park. So we're just going to move right on to the next items. I need another motion to suspend. Well, Councilmember Sylvester.
I don't have the details of the statement, but I motion that we suspend the reading in full of ordinance of resolution number 10-2022. No?
Yes,
No.
that, and we have two resolutions, so 10 and 11.
Okay, I'm sorry. That would include resolution number 10-2022 and resolution number 11-2022. Suspend the reading in full.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any other discussion? Is there any discussion that these resolutions were posted?
These resolutions were posted 6 days prior to the meeting.
All right, thank you. So will the clerk please call the roll on the motion to suspend?
Harrison,
Yes.
Holt,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Sylvester,
Yes.
Brown.
Yes. Motion to suspend passes 5-0. Will the clerk please read the next two resolutions by title only?
Resolution number 10-2022. A resolution authorizing the city manager to accept 2 grants for police department body camera funding from the Ohio Office of Criminal Justice and the United States Department of Justice.
Okay, is there a motion, Dr. Moore?
Thank you. I move to adopt resolution number 10-22.
Second.
20.
It's been moved.
Then that's
I'm sorry?
She said 10-22. I would just, it was
Oh,
just
okay.
an error.
Yeah, I'm sorry. My it's kind of mine is muffled, but anyway, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Yes, that we apply for 2 grants to cover the much needed costs as possible. The cost of the system will be $126,360, in which $87,981 will be covered for 2 separate grants. So the purpose of this is the resolution is to accept those grants. Please refer to the police department's memo for further details. I urge adoption of this resolution.
Okay, thank you for that. And will the clerk please call the roll on the motion?
Holt,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Sylvester,
yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Harrison.
Yes.
Okay, looks like resolution number 10-2022 passes 5-0. Will the clerk please read the next resolution by title only?
Resolution number 11-2022, accepting the bid of John R. Jurgensen, Inc. for the Winton Road and West Kemper Road Improvement Project.
All right, is there a motion, Councilmember Sylvester?
Yes, I move that we adopt the resolution number 11-2022.
Is there a
Second.
second? Been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion?
Well, this is a bid that we received from John R. Jurgensen's Incorporated Company for the Winton Road and Kemper Road improvement program that's going to be on the way at a total of $3,433,878.65. So,
Okay.
Don, is there anything else you want to?
No, I had Scott Felkowski, who handles the bidding process. He's essentially our city engineer. And I have him here this evening if anybody had any questions about the bid or anything like that, or the timing or anything, just in case there's any information anybody wanted.
Anybody have any other? Was anybody?
Maybe Scott, give us a quick update for the public that might be watching, if they want a quick update on, when the project's going to begin and the scope of the project real fast, if you could.
Yeah, please.
Sure. Thank you, and good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. The project itself is for a little over 2 miles worth of repaving. So Winton Road south of Kemper down to Sharon Road, and Kemper Road to the east of Winton Road. Also included is the alternate that turned out to be a good price for. The alternate is the Kemper Meadow Drive east of Winton Road there for some repaving. So this is included for repaving of those roads, redoing curbs, redoing some of the catch basins through that area. One of the big things we have is a grant from SORTA for the bus routes. So that's going to be redoing. They're moving some of those locations from one side of an intersection to another. So they're also with that, we're putting in some shelters, benches, trash cans, bike racks, all of those things to make this a little more public transit friendly neighborhoods through here. Also included, as you drive down Kemper Road, you'll see that with those roadside ditches that get clogged. We had quite a bit of rain over the past couple weeks here. You'll see how those will fill up. So this will clean some of that out and regrade those and make it a safer situation with some of that flush curb on the side for where that parking's going to go, so that those residents have that area that's more defined, so that when you have the cars traveling up and down that street, it's a safer situation with this. One of the things we found is when we put this out to bid is one of our worries was asphalt costs because of the rising gas prices. We did only have one bidder on this, so we did do a lot of homework on making sure that it is a quality bid. This is a company that's done a lot of work for us in the past. They are definitely well qualified to do the work. Just since this was bid, just about 2 or 3 weeks later, we checked with some other cities about their some of their street programs. And only about, like I said, 2 to 3 weeks later, the bids that are coming in, the asphalt prices have already gone up about 20% over what we got. So we're getting better prices than what other people are seeing right now. So it's a project that we're looking to get started here with some of the initial work here in the next month or two, and it'll be done by the end of summer area. There's some other things just to let you know that we are doing that's not part of this contract is things like the trees and the medians that some of them have been hit over the years, and we are replacing all of those, making sure the streetscape looks nice. And then also as a separate thing is adding some electric in some areas to be able to light up the area, some of the trees and everything come Christmas time and things like that. So the intersection of Winton and Kemper as well, putting in that stamped asphalt for the crosswalks, another safety thing that it's more visible and also good for aesthetics too. Looks really nice. So.
Right. Okay.
Well, with that, I'll motion that we adopt resolution number 11-2022.
Okay. Does anybody have any other questions for Scott?
Yes, I have a question, and maybe I missed this. When can you project that the work will get started? Is it this year in May?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, this is a this year project that you'll see some of the initial work looking for around end of May, beginning of June.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Well, I just do want it noted that the city is working on behalf of our residents. I know those are our major arterials, like our main traffic corridors that people cross through every day. And we hear residents, you see that we've done a list of ordinances to take money to make the recommended improvements to keep our city beautiful, to make improvements to have it long lasting and looking beautiful for 40, 50, 60 years down the line. So we hear you. Your tax dollars are being well spent, well allocated. And I just do want to thank Scott and Don just for leading on this charge, because I personally have complained to Don saying, why don't we have lights during Christmas time? And there you go. Once they fix the medians, I just want our residents to know that we do take your feedback very serious. And with that, will the clerk please call the roll on the motion?
Moore,
Yes.
Sylvester,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Hope.
Yes.
And motion passes 5-0. It looks like we have one more item. I almost didn't see this. I need a motion. Is there a motion, Dr. Moore?
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
we actually did not receive the general fund summary report, so we will have to postpone that until the May 16th council meeting.
Oh, okay. That's perfectly fine. I know everybody's ready to log off. All right. Is there any more business to come before the body?
Just, Mr. Mayor, maybe add an item as far as the update on the Aldi's building and Walmart.
Oh, right. Right. So we'll add those as discussion items to the work session agenda.
Yeah. Thank you. Sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. That's good. Is there any more business to come before the body? Any other business to come before the body? Is there any other business to come before the body? Last call. All right, hearing none. This meeting is adjourned. I don't have my gavel, so I don't know if I clap or turn the lights off or but all right, so good night, everyone.